The Beef and Barnzy Show, brought to you by Bowlersmart.com, trusted by bowlers around the world since 2004. By Lightning Strikes Bowl, home of Bowlers Mart Pro Shop. By Platinum Ford, drive the difference. By Fire Lake Bowling Center, 24 state-of-the-art lanes. By True Grit Coatings, drive on our passion. By Roll to Grip, king of them all. By 900 Global, striking worldwide.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Beef and Barnzy Show. Today, it is just me. So I hope and pray we're going to have a few of you guys come in with some comments and some questions. Chris isn't here. He's in Louisville. He is cheering on Ryan at the college nationals. So you've only got me. So get your questions ready. We will discuss Dio Bernard's win last night, Andrew and Prather coming away with a win in the doubles, the World Series in general. Any ball questions you have, any questions about the World Series, just let us know, or let me know. No, there is no us. And we'll get to it. And hopefully we will have an entertaining 45 minutes to an hour. So, Nico, morning. Welcome. Thank you. Chuck, what's going on? Kamari. Hello. Yeah, way to go, Dio. Yeah, what a performance he put on last night. The most under control I've seen a guy, on that first show. He bowled. I do, but the problem was I went to the World Series and I left my camera behind. And when I left my camera behind, I also left the memory card in it. So I didn't get to do it. So yeah, I will try and get onto that. I don't think it's going to be very popular, the video, being as it's, the ball's about to be out. So I'll get it up. We will have some other stuff coming. Did you use a Balmo spare ball in the start of the PBA Elite League? Not this year, no. I used on the PBA Elite League on the shows this year. I've used the striking against breast cancer balls. So they're the only ones that I've actually used so far. I just drilled a new spare ball though, because I missed a few spares at the end of the World Series. That one had started to get really, really dull and it cracked out a bit. So that one needs to be repaired. So I'm going with a bright yellow 900 Global spare ball. Hey, Ryan, what's going on? Thanks for the super chat. He says, the attention rolls good, Stu. I like it. Had a Century Award with it a few weeks ago. It went 123, 297. Well, I guess 420 for 2 is not too bad. What are your thoughts on the scoring pace on all three patterns? From my personal opinion, I'm a bit of a get off my lawn guy. I think 240 is a little extreme. But the one positive I will say, the scoring pace wasn't drastically wasn't drastically different on each pattern. So the problem is in World Series in the past, we've had Cheetah be massively high scoring, and then the next two patterns be way, way, way lower scoring. And then it kind of it skews the World Championships a lot. So that part of it, the fact that they were all pretty high scoring, was, it didn't give any particular advantage to one pattern. The way Scorpion shook out, I think probably had a pretty large effect on the left-handers being in the World Championships. I think there's 9 out of 16 in the World Championships. I think most of that was caused by the Scorpion pattern. So yeah. Morning, Joy. How you doing? It depends which house shot. For me, the original idol is a little strong, a little smooth for most house shots. Um, but yeah. Daniel, morning from one Mountain Dew Kickstart fan to another. Yep. Cheers. So blame the ball, not yourself, for missing spares. Well, yeah, obviously. Why would I blame myself? Hey Pat, how you doing? Made some coin on the lone lefty last night, rolling with the goat lone righty tonight. I mean, it might not be a bad play. The only thing I will say is when we bowled over on those lanes for the PBA League, it felt like almost every team with a lefty had put their lefty in the anchor spot. So, might be something to might be something to keep an eye on. I don't think the right side's particularly fun on that side of the building, but we will see. Um, yeah, I did use a Balmo spare ball for a while. Yeah. Um, Little Rock, hello, Cheetah. Would you have thrown urethane or something else? Um, I threw reactive on Cheetah, but I wasn't bowling the TV show, and all of the guys who did make the TV show, um, all the guys who did make the TV show use urethane on the fresh. Um, I thought Marshall was gonna win once he started with the double. It didn't look like that ball. The problem is when you bowl on the lanes when they've been broken down with the urethane like that, they're kind of hard to manipulate. It feels like the lane breaks down in a certain way, and it's pretty easy to get to the pocket once you get left like that. And it either strikes or it doesn't, is kind of how it feels like. And you only get so many shots and you've got to pick one. And for Marshall, I think if he was going to re-bowl that, he probably wouldn't, he probably would have used a different ball. But when you're hitting the pocket and you're that deep into the match, it's kind of difficult to make a ball change, especially when the match is really close. So I felt a bit, I felt from a little bit. But I think that Marshall did the right thing by throwing the reactive ball. I just don't think he executed as well as he wanted to because that ball wasn't giving him the strikes. I think that on the shots that he threw well, when they didn't strike, that made him really like try and manipulate it. And once you start doing that on the short patterns, it's really easy to see the ball tear like it did and go left. How big of a difference was it in the arena as opposed to the main bait? Well, I only bowled on the World Championship pattern, and we didn't get that much time on it. But yeah, they were quite a bit tighter in the arena bay, especially the right lane when we played. Straighter angles looked a lot better, whereas when we were in the main bay, hooking it wasn't that big of a deal. So it'll be interesting tonight when there's all of the if Belmont gets through that first match, it'll be interesting to see what happens. It seemed like going from the doubles and just what we've seen, and even when the ladies played the NCAA, it was kind of hard to win more than a couple of games in a row. So we'll see how that goes tonight. I think everybody was shocked when he needed just the spare, and he kind of missed it a little bit. I haven't really spoken to him about the shot. It's not really, hey, why did you fuck that one up? But it looked like he just missed it a little bit, and he was using a ball that was that tour dynamics doesn't really flare very much. So if you get it too far down the lane, it yeah, it can miss it pretty easily. So Yeah, but they've got new lanes now. Yeah, they replaced the lanes like 2 years ago. Um, well, there you go. Inside scoop. Cell phone fell on the bleachers too. Oh, that sucks. Um, who do you have in favor to win the show tonight? I think I'll be boring. I think I'll take Russo. He's been bowling really, really good. Zach, what's going on, bud? Zach is one of the happiest people you can bowl with. He is always, well, except when he's shooting the 10 pin, he's always happy. Levi, what's going on? Got a problem slowing down 15s and being forced too far left with high speed. So I split a lot. I tried out 16-pound Thanes and felt good. Should I switch to Reynolds? I mean, I've threw 16 for a long time. The only catch on throwing 16 is it's way harder to get hold of the balls. So if you're able to get hold of the balls easily, then yeah, go for it. I never regretted it. I only changed because I started to get arthritis in my hands and it made it way harder for me to get my hand in a good spot. But yeah, I mean, I won my 2 titles with 16 pounds. So, yeah, 16 was always good to me. Dom's using 16 right now. I bowl 9th and 10th, I think. Whatever that Thursday, Friday is of May. Hey, I don't bowl in Dallas. I bowl in Austin. So no, he bowls in the same. I think he bowls in the same league as like the Lavery Bros and Chapman and Barnes. So I didn't really see any of the senior queens. No, the only senior lady bowling I saw was Linda on the step ladder winning the Golden Ladies. So I didn't really pay much attention to it, but congrats to Kathy. Ryan, what's going on? You got a plastic, a Vibo, phase 2, Synergy or Emerald, Black Widow 3.0, MV Tour, absolute purple hammer if I bring 8. Thanks. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. You probably go Widow, phase 2, Envy Tour. Yeah, I think you've got most bases covered. I would definitely take the purple hammer. Yeah, Dio balls everywhere. No. You misunderstood what I meant, Levi. I mean, like, literally sourcing the ball, being able to buy 16-pound balls. That's the hardest thing. It's an interesting one. He says, "What are your feelings about the top 43 and then tour trials?" I don't think it's a very good idea, but I don't have all of the information. I just don't know what we're really doing tour trials for because we don't have that many tournaments. So yeah. I think the main problem with the tour right now is we don't have enough tournaments. I don't think it's that we have too many people in or not enough people in or whatever. So more tournaments would have been the biggest change that I would have liked to have seen. I don't know whether there will be more tournaments. But yeah. So I don't know. I think that the thing that's going to happen is because the free entry fees kicks in next year for all the guys who are in the top 43 and make it through the tour trials. There are quite a lot of good bowlers who would be able to bowl the tournaments anyway because they have titles who are going to bowl the tour trials. So I don't know that many new young faces are going to come through the tour trials, but we'll see. I also think that when we have not as many tournaments, the cut for the top 43 is like quite harsh. Like, so for example, last year I think I was 17th in points, but all of the places that I bowled well last year, we didn't go to this year. So it just makes a really big difference. Like, we didn't go to Wauwatosa, we didn't go to Shawnee, we didn't go to Kokomo. Um, so a bunch of the places I bowled bad, we did go to. We went back to Detroit. We went to the Delaware. Like, we went to Springfield. Like, there were places that I didn't really do that well. So it's been a little bit of a grind for me to get to that top 43. I think I will make the top 43, but it's with the way the World Series went as well. It seems like a lot of lefties are going to make it back up into the number. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Yes, exactly. So that's the rub with throwing 16. That's the slight issue. Hey Todd. Yeah, so if you have a title, you'll be able to play based on the size of the bowling center. So yes, but like, I would be ahead of D-Ron because I have two T's. If I didn't make the top 43 and D-Ron's going to make the top 43, so that's a bad example. But like, I don't know. Just pick one person, like somebody with a title in the last 10 years. So like, say Simonelli. Simonelli's going to be ahead of me because Simonelli has 7 or 8 titles and I only have 2. So he's higher up on the on that list than I am for getting in. But D-Ron doesn't have to, because currently this year, if you have a title, you don't have to bowl PTQs. And I'm not sure he would have done. He would have had to bowl a PTQ anyway because he made the show the week before. So I'm not sure about that one either. Fist bumps on TV. I mean, I guess it depends. I mean, Dio is a nice kid. Yeah, I might not have fist bumped him back. I might have left him hanging. It all depends. I mean, Marshall's a good dude too, so I don't think that I don't care one way or the other, to be honest. So, oh, no problem, Nevin. Sorry about the mistake. Tour trials is about getting rid of the rest of the bowlers who use their thumbs. Yeah, maybe. Was there much of a beef at the World Series with the left-handers making the top, mostly two-handed lefties? Yes. Yeah, there was a lot of frustration in the locker room. There always is with the left-right debate. Scorpion was a really rough one. I think with a couple of games to go, I think we were looking. I was 24th, and I was the I think I was the 4th highest one-handed righty. So that was a little rough. But yeah. Overall, I think there's always going to be frustration. It's towards the end of the season. For some of the guys, it was their last chance to make any money at all because they can't bowl the TOC. There's other guys who are fighting to try and get in that top 43. And if they were right-handed, they weren't getting exactly a lot of points from the World Series. Yeah, there was a lot of frustration and stuff flying in the locker room. Zach and Stu, thank you for making my son's day yesterday at the Pro-Am. He will bowl with both of you in the Pro-Am. Carter Jones's name, he both said he had great shots, and after that, you made him smile all day. Well, I'm glad he had a good time. Thank you for bringing him out. I'm super happy. Glad you had a good time. That's what the Pro-Ams are all about. seeing the fans, interacting with them. Um, it's a good time. Hey Stu, was a pleasure to meet you and Barnes at the Masters. Dom came and stood next to me and my friend during the match play and just started talking to us about the matches. Was a great time. Yeah, we try to be men of the people. So um I'm glad you had a good time. Hey Adam, what's going on? Aaron, uh that's in league with the phase 2 you sent me. Well, glad it's working out so well. Both. Um Yeah, I don't think it was about the length of the patterns. Um, I think it was more about where the friction spots were and how they were kind of in a similar place on all of the patterns. So it just made it um a little challenging, shall we say, to balance the left rights of it. Um no idea. Hey Larry, what's going on? Yep, you gave it a try. That tournament, that bowling center was pretty difficult. The lane to lane in Suncoast was quite challenging. Um, yes, it does. So, somebody asked me a question back here. Let me see. Um, maybe, maybe. Yeah, that made it to the show last night. So, did Marshall's left make you feel any better? Well, he already did it twice on his last show. I said to Tina, I go, man, is there enough oil in front of the head pin for Marshall not to pull one left? And then next thing I looked up and he was shooting the 136. So we've all been there. Yeah, we've all been there. Yeah, BJ did have some bad luck on TV. That's for sure. Did you bowl on the long or short in the doubles? Well, me and Frankie bowled about the same score on both patterns. So when we went into the short and the long, Frankie started on the short because we just felt like he was better using his urethane than I was. And it felt like we were going to need to use the urethane or like the weaker reactive balls. It just looked like I wasn't as good the first game on the short, so that's the way we went with it. And either of us could have bowled on the long because the long was very easy, especially at the start. So we went that way round, and Frankie really struggled the first couple of games. So after 4 games, we switched it around because um it just I was bowling on the left lane, and basically I could just walk up and chuck it anywhere, and it was a strike. But on the shore, it was really difficult. And Frankie was once you really struggle to strike for a while, it becomes really difficult to make good shots. So we kind of switched it up to kind of give Frankie a chance to loosen his swing up a little bit. And we did that. And then when we came back after lunch, Frankie went back onto the short. He drilled a couple of balls. He drilled a hustle M&M, and he drilled a different layout on his pitch black. God, is IQ 78, and then he bowled much better than I did in the evening. Overall, we never really clicked in the Baker doubles section. We ended up getting gap pretty good into the trophy boy position in 16th, but it was a cash. Me and Frankie lived to fight another day. So it was overall, it was good to cash. It was a shame we couldn't get some get it going in that match play section, but it just wasn't to be. Um, no. I mean, my first year on tour, Steve was kind of getting towards the end of his career. Um, Unfortunately, the right left issue will always be there. Not sure if there's a way of making it even. Add in the thumb, no thumb debate. Locker room would have been fun just to hang out and laugh. Um, yeah, people tell me that. Um, I think that the current generation of lefties, because of the way the Purple Hammer went and the pitch blacks and all of the urethanes, kind of they all want to do kind of the same thing. So it just becomes like they're all really, really, really good at that thing. But if that thing isn't there, they all seem to want to try it anyway. And that kind of screws the lanes up for the guys who don't want to do that. So then it becomes really difficult for a bowler to not go that route and still make it. So it's very difficult for the lane guy to get two or three of the lefties there, especially when it's high scoring. Especially when it's high scoring. May, I think it's 9th and 10th. Hey, so how did it go? I went back to 5 steps. I only did the 6 steps for one tournament. I hated it. So how did it go overall? Overall, it was probably a C plus, maybe a B minus. Cashed in the doubles, kind of threw away cashing in the Scorpion. Um, Choked that off a little bit. Should have got a cash in the Scorpion. Hung on the last block on Shark to get a cash in the World Championships. So, that was the big goal, was to cash in the World Championships. I did that, but I only just did that. So it wasn't, it wasn't really that ideal. It was nice for me and Frankie to have a decent result. Decent result in the doubles. That made the week a little easier, knowing you were kind of already in a little bit of profit for the week. So overall, it was okay, but it wasn't special. Yeah, I personally thought for professional bowling they were too easy. But it's not, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. What did I use for the World Series? Well, that was the thing that was kind of fascinating. Most of my score came from like 2 or 3 different DNA coils. When we bowled in the doubles, I used an absolute power quite a bit on both patterns. Um, uh, Outside of that, I used the IQ Tour a little. I used an IQ Tour a little bit. I used absolute a little bit. So yeah, I kind of really just used the absolute power. We were only bowling 5-game blocks, so the lanes didn't break down that much. Except on score the first block on Shark. Yeah, the first block on Shark, they started off like carpet. They were so dry. And then that broke down pretty quick. But the second couple of blocks, people played a little further right. So yeah, I didn't really use very many balls. I'm doing great, Adam. I'm back home for a few days. Watching the Prater versus AJ match on shot, losing 3-0 with less than 10 pins to have to suck. I don't know how I would have handled that. Yeah. Yeah. The title match at the CSC, the one where PA threw the T-Row Pearl and Ryan through the high. 2 lefties throwing shiny symmetrical balls played. Yeah. Yeah, that ain't happening again ever. Ever. The only person who on the left side right now who might throw a shiny symmetrical ball is Russo. Thanks for going the pro-am. I was on the opposite side of the alley from you. I won the women's. Well, congratulations. I'll be getting an attention star. Seeing a bunch of you throw it at the Wolves made me want to get one. Yeah, that ball was pretty popular. For me, I haven't struck as much with that one as other guys. Prather used it quite a bit. Um, he used it in the doubles, and then I think it was the same one he used on Shark to make the show. So got to put my money on Belmo tonight. So many lefties seeing more transition. Well, I think the key for Belmo will be getting through that first match against Svensson. Right now, the poll has we've only got 133 votes, so get your votes in on YouTube. It's pinned in the chat. Russo's at 10%, Packy's at 47%, Kevin Williams 5%, and then you can only do 4 options. So Belmo Svensson is 38%. So um, yeah. I think overall it was pretty good. I'll be interested to see. I mean, I won't get the numbers, but be interesting to see how much over the season those balls have gotten softer. But yeah, overall, I would say that it has definitely made it harder for the right-handers to use them for a long time. It has made the lanes get a little easy, well, quite a bit easier on the right because everybody's urethane lines are a little further left because they don't hook as much. I think it's been quite punishing for the left-handers overall. But yeah, that would be my take on it so far. The harder urethanes have meant that the lanes don't get as screwed up because people can't hook it as much. So the carry down or whatever you want to call it is in a better place to be able to use it for a positive. Do you think the guys have got so much better on the animal patterns because they've been around for so long? See, this is the problem with naming patterns because they change the patterns every year. It's not like we're bowling on the same pattern. Like this year, Cheat was 36 feet, and I bowled the World Series where Cheat has been 33 feet. So, like, I just think that this year the lanes were just easier, full stop. I don't necessarily think that I think the guys as a group are really deep and they can make really good shots. But I don't think we're scoring more because because the animal patterns have been around for so long, because the patterns are always different every year. So, I mean, it's called Scorpion, but some years it's been 47 feet, and this year it's 42 feet, and it was 42 feet last year, but we bowled on a really older surface in Wauwatosa. So they hooked loads, and we bowled 5 on a pair, so that changed everything. So no, I don't think it's necessarily because of that. I just like I say, I just think it's because they were easier this year. Could you imagine someone getting in Dio's face about being a 200 lefty and using urethane quite soft? I wonder how he would react. I'm guessing absolutely no reaction at all. Yeah, Dio ain't much of a man for emotion, is he? I just don't understand how he's able to bowl with all that hair in his way. Never going to happen until they're all owned by the same. Anything to do with the brand of lane machine? Well, we use both lane machines, so no. The I think they would work better with a 3-man booth with a guy with a current bowler in there. I think they would work better with that. I prefer Dave Lamont to John Fanta, but that's not a I just don't think that Fanta's learning the game very well. And I think that if you're going to do that job and you want to take it seriously, I think you should be gaining more knowledge each week. And I don't think he is doing. But, you know, being this, I've never done that job. It's very difficult for me to critique it. I just watch TV. So, yeah. Why do we have this question every week? Like, it would be awesome to get PWBA and PBA 50 bowls. Why? I just don't understand. I don't know why that would make the product better. Yeah, I don't understand. It's not going to happen. So, like, I just don't understand why that would be better. Like, we do have PBA 50 bowlers on the teams. Barnes is bowling, Hess is bowling, Parker Bones bowling, like because they qualified because they're bowling on the PBA tour. Like, I just yeah. Well, like I say, without walking a mile in his shoes, it's difficult, but uh they wanted to get more variety. They felt like this would allow them to get more variety in the patterns. Was the reason why they did it. So they use different oils and they use different machines, and they just yeah. So that was the theory behind it. They were trying their best to come up with as many different solutions as possible to try and get more variety in the lanes. Uh, More of a kickstart guy. Um, I'd like to see regular stops everywhere. I don't want the World Series of bowling to go back there, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a regular stop down there. I'm sure Tom Doherty would be quite happy if we went back to Tampa again. Yeah, that's kind of my point. I think that somebody who has more of a up to date understanding of what's going on um, would be better to help Randy out because I think Randy does a really good job with the like hyping it up and bringing the energy, but I don't think that he necessarily has um, his perspective isn't as like to the up to date as it could be if he had someone like Belmo or Chris or Norm, like kind of bouncing back and forth. I think that Randy would benefit from having one of those guys in there with him, so that he could somewhat have a intelligent debate back and forth between the bowlers. Whereas Randy is trying to, especially when there's a different guy in the booth with him every week, is trying to carry the broadcast a little bit, and it makes it a little difficult for him to keep up with all of the other um, bowling knowledge. So I think for Randy, it's become a lot tougher when he hasn't got like a seasoned guy next to him all the time. Like the shows with Rob Stone are better because he has a much better like yin and yang with him. Um, but I think it would be more interesting if they had a bowler in the booth with them. It's not like you're going to be using them every single frame, but like Randy can be like kind of bringing them in, like, hey, when you saw this, what were you doing? Like, why is he doing this? Like things like that. I think would be a good insight for the fans watching. Um, there you go. Yeah. One other question: Lane Talk stats. Do any of you guys look at them? What information would you like to see? Are you a stats nerd like me? Because they have like loads and loads of information. Like I know for a fact that the reason why I was so far down in the field this week was because I was terrible in the 10th frame. Like I didn't strike, I struck less than 50% of the time the first shot in the 10th. For perspective, Kevin Williams and Packy led the field in that stat, and they struck 78% of the time in the first shot of the 10th. So if you think about how many times you would have a strike going into the 10th, um, yeah, that's that is You want to use the bowl TV guys in the booth? But wouldn't that be the same as Randy? Like, they're not bowling either. I mean, I guess you could use Haas. Um, um, well, there isn't really an alternate for the TV show. So yeah, they've done that as well. I yeah, I don't know. I just like for me, I like the player's perspective on it. Um, yeah, but they're not doing the same job, Johnny. That's the problem. Like every week, people moan about Bowl TV as well. So I mean, it's just like people just love to moan. But the job that Randy's doing is way harder than live streaming. Like when you have to be like super concise in like a 13 seconds, it's way, way, way harder than if you've got like 8 hours to fill. The 8 hours to fill is hard in a totally different way. So, like for me, it's really hard to do what Randy's doing. Do I necessarily agree with all of the takes that Randy has? No. Would I like it if he had somebody with him? Yes. But to make it seem like what he's doing is easy is kind of bullshit. It's not. Put a ball rep for each player in the booth, and if they lose, they can replace by the next guy's ball rep. Yeah, but that's fine. But what's the ball rep doing if they're in the booth? Like the players need access to the ball reps. And I also don't think the audience really cares about ball reps. Like when I'm watching um regular, like say you're watching baseball, it's way more interesting when they have a player in the booth than it is like a coach. Yeah. Yeah. So what would you like? Would you want like baseball where they have advanced metrics and stuff? Um, like just trying to I'm talking to those guys because I feel like baseball, like there's a lot of like advanced metric sites and stuff that people really like. And like, I think that they would be better having that as like almost a subscription. Um, I know people hate subscriptions, but they have to find a way to pay for some of it. So that's just for me anyway. I think it's kind of interesting. I think it'd be interesting if you could look up um if you could look up like who's the best at shooting the 3-6-10, who strikes the most in the 10th frame, who's all of that stuff. I think that's kind of interesting. Who's got the best strike on strike, who threw the most six baggers this week, like all of those things I think are kind of interesting. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who was on the show. Like, I mean, I think Chris would bring great um uh uh, would bring great perspective. Um yeah, yeah, I think Callie does a good job on the women's tour for sure. I'm not sure. I feel like that's more of the same problems though with Randy because she isn't playing in the environment that we're playing in. So I think it's really difficult to talk about the choices that the guys are making when you don't really bowl in that environment. But I mean, um, what storm ball was most popular? Um, that's a really good question. Probably the attention star. I think we drill quite a few of those. I think the Vibo got a decent amount of use. Um, for me, I was kind of just really concentrating on me, and for me, it was the DNA coil, and it wasn't even remotely close. But I feel like I kind of use balls that a lot of other people don't necessarily use. So, um, yeah. That's kind of where it was for me. I love statistics and probability. My master's is in sports. I haven't used lane talk, but my question would be: was your 10th frame performance statistically significant or within a margin of error? It was statistically significant. I was rubbish. I was 48%. They were 78% for 45 games. So that's a pretty big margin. I think I was about 103rd in the field on striking the first shot of the 10th. So to me, that's a pretty big difference. Yes, I agree. We've been sort of talking about that. And like, for example, like the other week, I can't remember which show it was. We were talking about it. And US Open, Belmo hadn't been sparing very well. He'd been struggling a little bit. And he'd missed the 10 pin quite a few times. And I was talking to Kimberly about it, and I was saying how they should mention that. And then Belmo went up and he missed the 10 pin on the TV. But he'd struggled a lot that week with it, and they had the stats to back up that he wasn't sparing the 10 pin as well as he had been in like all of his previous seasons. So that to me would have been some perspective for going up to shoot the shot, knowing that, hey, Jason on this spare is like, shooting it 5% worse than he has done the previous 5 seasons or whatever. I think in other sports they would have used that. But yeah, I mean, I just the axis tilt and axis rotation is a little rough, a little difficult to explain. Surface finish is always changing, so like those things are very difficult to quantify, um, for sure. Shiny or dull is kind of more. Yeah, hit them up. Bowl and Savant would be as well. Okay, I'll check that one out. Corey says he'd pay for it. Well, that's cool. I kind of feel like that those things are kind of like for the stats nerds. I think it's kind of interesting. I don't know if I imagine that they could probably have that for your own stats also. Be kind of fun. Interesting lane talk stat for cheat. The last 3 years, it took 227 to make the top 16. Of course, this year skews the average. Yeah, that is pretty interesting. We also, last year, the top 16 was not really relevant either because we just cut to the TV show last year. So I wonder if that affects scoring pace or not. She's too busy line dancing. Okay. Off topic, 10 ball and junior gold qualifying, rule hammer, rip, and a hype. Not sure what ball would finish your Arsenal off. Probably a spare ball. I mean, without seeing a bowl, it's going to be a bit difficult. But at 10, I think the main thing is going to be trying to get some spares on the board. Yeah, they could use that person. That's for sure. I just think that for me, the coil's just a little more continuous. The attention star stands up a little harder, and I just can't get it to go through the pins as well. Tried a couple of different layouts. It just, like I say, for me, the stronger cover on the coil, allows it to be a little more continuous, because it's smoother. Whereas the attention star, because it's got like the slightly weaker cover, it skids more, but then it's more responsive. So it's not as easy to control. And I just don't find, like I say, for me, I just haven't been able to get the attention star to go through the pins as well as I would like. Um, and a lot of other guys have. So I don't know. Expected way more exponent. Yeah, people tended to use the IQ Tour a little more this week. Um, I don't know. Not really sure why. Um, Barnes used the exponent a little bit. Exponent Pearl is really responsive, and because there was so much friction, it would have made it kind of hard to use something that was that responsive. I actually didn't really see almost any exponent pearls being used, and I think it was just because there was so much friction. I think it was just hard to control, and it was way easier to control the pocket um, using using that using the smoother stuff. Randy always has more energy with Rob Stone. Yeah, he's his buddy. He gets on really well. Um, is there a bright? Yeah, I think it seems like the blue is a little lighter now. Um, Sherman seemed to be in the attention store most of the time. Right-handed with a thumb, made the top 16. Yeah, Kyle bowled extremely well. Um, I don't think anybody questions whether Kyle's a good bowler. It's just whether he can stay healthy or not. Thanks for signing my autograph for the Sun. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for bringing him out. Hey, Dalton, I'll see you later on. Wish they had lane talk centers near me. Yeah, it is kind of a bit of a problem. It'd almost be nice if you could, like, if the lane talk app, if you didn't have the center, if you could manually enter the scores and like enter what you left so that you could keep your stats up to date, that would be kind of an interesting one. Um, yeah, I mean, the scores on Scorpion were really high. No, but we did laugh about it at lunch when Chris left the 410, it was the 110. But I mean, he got lucky. They reset it. They reset it as the 110. Where it stood up, I couldn't believe that it got knocked down. Yeah, the modern bowl industry. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the same with everything. So, yeah, I'm really keen because, like, right now, I feel like lane talk is a really dumbed down thing, and I think that I've spoken to them about this. I think that maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like how it is now, the people who care about stats don't get enough from it, and the people who don't care about stats aren't going to that site. So having a dumbed down version of stats just doesn't make any sense. Like the people who are really into stats want all of the stats, and the people who aren't into it aren't going to go. Like they don't care what my strike percentage was. They're not going to go and compare that. So yeah, and also it's really kind of strange when you pick two players out and they're like 200 pins apart, and then you look and all their metrics that are shown on Lane Talk are almost the same. It's kind of an odd thing. Like you need a little bit more info as to why. Why did EJ score way more than I scored when we had almost the same strike percentage, almost the same spare percentage, like, and he split like 1% less. Like that's just not making the difference up. Um, we need a savvy coach type with TV experience to explain things. Randy's go-to of pros work the inside, amateurs work the edge. Yeah, yeah, it's become a little bit tired, that analogy for sure. Um, don't know. And I genuinely don't know. Thanks, Nevin. Yep. She took that down. Well, there you go. Larry says that Kelly's teaching line dancing now. What is my favorite ball of all time? Hypercell's pretty much up there. I won my second title with that one. I use that one a lot. So probably the Hypercell. Do you drill new stuff based on rep suggestions or on your own experience? Both. Yeah, definitely both. Do you think it would help explain the scoring system for 30 seconds or so at the beginning because some bowlers don't know that and maybe the show the whole game on the screen? Um, don't know. No, I know that PinPal has that, but what I'm saying is I'm talking about in addition to Lane Talk. So like you have all of your Lane Talk stats, and then if you go to a place that doesn't have it, then you can add it as well. Whereas I don't think you want to be doing it every time. Um, but I think that if you were able to do it, the odd times, I think that would be helpful. Yeah. Uh, I would settle for consistently working pin setters. Oh, I'm sorry about that. The Yeah, I think the blue pigment might be a little lighter. I'm not sure. I don't really understand what that means, but okay. Yeah, Frankie drilled some balls with full roller layouts because his track has got really high, so he decided to add that. Um, he decided to add that into his arsenal. It's worked out pretty okay for him. He's got a few balls like that. Hey, I'm a data analytics person. I made my own open source thing called Lane Murmur that does more advanced stats for my own bowling than Lane Talk. That's cool. I think Lane Talk has a lot of stats. They just don't show them. But yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, Dio bowled awesome. What's the ideal amount of tour stops? Enough that if I missed one, it wouldn't be the end of the world. So I don't know. Like if we're doing realistically, it would be kind of cool if we had like um the five majors and everything they entailed. And then this season we had, I think it was four extra tournaments. If that was 12, that would be a realistic, to me anyway, that would be a realistic, like kind of that would put us in a good spot. If we had like 12 regular tournaments, you'd have the four extra World Series is 16, the five majors is 21. That wouldn't be bad. Like in the perfect world, we'd have 30, 35 tournaments a year like they used to have. But in the non-perfect world, if we could get to like 12 regular stops and the five majors, that would be that would be pretty cool. Um, Steve, any tips for 39 foot Orby? Me, lefty. Okay. Um, I think the key to playing on that 39 feet on the Orby is to see if there's friction on the gutter. Because that's obviously going to change everything. Because really on 39 feet, you shouldn't really be getting the ball too much outside of five. You almost want five to be your gutter. But if it's coming off outside of five, then you can kind of change your angles, be a little bit closer to the gutter. Um, but in general, on like a 39-foot pattern, and it all depends on the surface. But I would think that like starting with the urethane is obviously going to be what most people are going to do. But I think that like that CUDA solid might be a pretty good option also, or the Hustle USA. Um, Kind of trying to blend it out a little bit before the oil kind of transitions down the lane. Yeah, that would be kind of where I would be with that one. Not There's so many variables with the lane surface that is going to change how you play it. But the first thing for me would be getting kind of closer to the gutter and seeing if you can get the ball to pick up there, and then kind of moving my feet based on what I see the ball doing would be my first like kind of port of call. Thanks for the super chat though. I appreciate you, Steve. Any suggestions for benchmark balls between reality and IQ Ruby? Uh, phase two, Optimum Idol. Yeah, both of those would be pretty good in there. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd never really believed in changing your finger pitches to change your track, but I'm sure at some point we'll see one. Um, I don't know. I've quit like talking about hypotheticals on balls because there are there are so many different options that I could go with. And like so many times I've been like, oh my ball, God, this ball's gonna be amazing. I've thrown it, I've been like, hmm. And then other times I've been like, oh my God, this ball's gonna be a piece of shit. I hate that cover, I hate that core. And then it's like one of my favorite balls. So I don't know. I didn't drive home. I flew home. I left my vehicle up in Detroit. I'm going to fly back up on Saturday, make the short drive over to Akron, bowl in the doubles, and over on the doubles on Sunday, and then back to TOC week Monday. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry that Chris wasn't here with us. Um, Hopefully, Ryan is going to make a bit of a run in the collegiate events. He's in the singles and in the team, so I will find out how he's getting on. But thank you to all of you for tuning in. I've just realized that this says beef stew and Dom, and it has done for the entire show. So that's kind of funny. I only just saw that now. I did a different show. A couple of weeks ago. So yeah, there is no Dom. It's just beef stew. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you get the chance, please support sponsors for us. Storm Road Grip 900 Global, Vice Turbo, Coolwick, Bowlers Mart, Platinum Ford, Lightning Strikes, Fire Lake Bowling Center. With that, I will see you on Thursday. I will try. I will try my best to find somebody to come on with me on Thursday. Watch the show tonight. Scorpion live. Take it easy. See you later. Have a good day. Bye bye now.